The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great. Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Well, hello and welcome in on this lovely Thursday morning. Hi, I'm Remouse filling in for Justin Kenner. Off the bench. We got a fun show for you today. No Elliott in the room once again, but we will have Jacob Tissett and Pearl Zabel. Jacob, rocking an Alabama hat today. I'm surprised to not see you wearing navy or yellow.
No, I should have. I actually didn't think about that this morning when I grabbed my hat, and then I got in the car, and I was like, shoot, I should have worn my Pacers hat. But it's all right. They're probably going to lose neither 4 or 5 anyway. It's all about having fun and the friends you make along the way.
Good fans do forget when your team plays in the championship.
Well, I knew they
started championship.
I forgot the hat.
He forgot that they played tonight, and that's okay.
No, I tweeted this morning at like 7:30.
He just figured it out right now. That's just the first time he figured it out.
You have it? Yeah. I'll put it on. Pearl has a Pacers shirt in her bag. She came prepared.
Pearl, are you a Pacers fan?
I'm a fake fan.
This show is a Pacers show.
I'm a fake
Similar
fan.
to how I kind of like adopted everyone, like our stars.
Correct. I stole that bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
When Tyrese Halliburton teamed up with Logan Paul, that's what shifted Casey over, because we know he's a big Paul Brothers guy. So once I got him on, Elliott just kind of followed the pack, and then I was home free.
You know, it's funny, when I was talking to Jacob, me and Jacob did a out-of-town event last weekend, and we were talking about his Pacers fandom. And as you know, Jacob, diehard LeBron fan as well. So when I was just kind of putting the screws on him a little bit, just like asking about his Pacers fandom, I go, wait, you're a big LeBron guy. So like 3 out of the last 4 or 5 times that they've made the Eastern Conference Finals, you were actively rooting against the Pacers?
Yeah, no, that would be correct. My NBA fandom, I'm very upfront and very clear. Number 1 is getting my sweet prince, the king, the chosen one, LeBron Raymond James, his 5th ring, chasing Michael Jordan, trying to get that nonsense taken care of. Number 2 is the Indiana Pacers. So now that LeBron's in LA, it's hard to watch those games. They're late at night. Time zones stink, so it's more Pacers games.
Would you prefer to be in the Western time zone for sports?
Central is a
Ideal.
distant 1-1
Okay.
in terms of time zones, and I think I would probably go further west than Eastern.
Okay. So we have the worst, is what you're saying.
I think so.
I think Mountain time zones kind of in this like weird limbo where it's like, if you're going to go early, let's just go early. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Although I could not imagine waking up on a Sunday in the fall, going to mass, and then like the NFL started. Yeah. Like it's just ready to rip.
Yeah, it's on.
Imagine being a Bengals fan out there in LA, which we know a bunch of people that were there. The 513 bar that was out there in LA, it's migrated back home. Pearl, how are you on this lovely Thursday morning?
I'm doing great. I wish it was a little sunnier, though. I feel like, I don't know, my mood just takes a hit when it's gloomy.
It is hard. It is so weird as humans how our energy is dictated by our surroundings, right? It's bright, it's sunny out, you're like, let's go. It's like this, you're just like,
I need a nap.
It's like, it's not quite seasonal depression because
Right.
it is warm out there, but it's close to it. I've got an exciting day today. I got to go out to McKee Field at Hayden Park as if I haven't spent enough time
Nice.
out there over the last 3 years, and I get to go watch my dad's baseball team. He's the assistant coach at Baden, and they're going to play for the regional championship tonight
go.
against
Exciting.
Butler High School. I refuse to pronounce Butler High School's city's name, which it's called. I don't think I say it right.
I don't.
Vandalia. Doesn't just sound right. I think I'm sounding it out perfectly, but it just doesn't come out right in my brain.
that's right.
Vandalia Butler. I just go Butler.
That's fair.
Your Moeller Crusaders lost yesterday.
Yeah, no, that's the thing about the Moeller Crusaders is they are mine, and I hate them a lot. But they have a guy I want to play quarterback for my favorite college. So
Yeah, that's right. I don't know if you guys saw this, and this is the final thing we're going to talk about high school, but I think it's absolutely incredible. Incredible, this stat. Matt Ponitowski, Hamilton native, I think he actually like kind of lives out in Ross. Went to a local grade school here in town called Queen of Peace. Played at Hamilton West Side. Hamilton kid. Decided to go to Moeller, which he made the absolute right choice. He was Mr. Football as the starting quarterback for the Moeller Crusaders. And then in the spring, he was Mr. Baseball. So the Gatorade Player of the Year in both football and baseball. Funny enough, he wasn't the GCL South Player of the Year because the other coaches don't like him, so they didn't vote for him.
What?
Yeah, that's a fact. They didn't. He was not the GCL South Player of the Year, but he was the Player of the Year in the state.
Mr. Baseball.
But he was a two-time, so he's now won it in 2 different sports. In the history of the Gatorade Player of the Year award, there's been two people prior that had been the Gatorade Player of the Year in multiple sports.
In the same year.
In the same year. Randy Moss did it in West Virginia, where he was Mr. Football and Mr. Basketball. Joe Mauer, I'm sorry I don't remember where you're from, but he was Mr. Football and Mr. Baseball as well. The third is Matt Ponitowski. Joe Mauer, Hall of Famer, Randy Moss, maybe the best wide receiver ever, and then Matt Ponitowski, which is just an incredible stat. Shout out to Mike Dwyer for that stat. Think that's absolutely incredible. Wish him the best. He's probably going to be like a top 10 MLB pick next year. And then he also can go to Alabama or Oregon or one of these top football schools to go play football and baseball. I think they're lying. I think when they're recruiting him, they're lying to him, though, when they say you can play both. Because I don't know.
No, he can.
I don't know if the Alabama Crimson Tide NIL collective's going to like it when they're starting quarterbacks out there playing shortstop.
Well, no. He can play shortstop while he's on freshman scout and as a sophomore. And then when he takes the starting job, he's got to make a choice. You got to make a choice. I think that's the Kentucky on that Final Four is probably the best chance at playing both. Alabama and Oregon, there's no way that flies.
Well, it'd just be funny if, like, that's their pitch. It's like at Kentucky, they're just like, yeah, you really can play both. They're lying to you. We don't care. Like, you can play for us and the baseball team. Yeah. You can do it both. But, yeah, so that's an exciting day today. So I get to go out there to McKee Field at Hayden Park. And as if I haven't spent enough time out there the last 3 years. Pearl. I believe that's the first time I ever ran into you.
Didn't know we ran into each other.
Well, I just remember all the people used to hand out the starting lineups and stuff like that, right? Or
yeah, I interned for Miami's baseball team, so I was like their sports contact. I dealt with like logistics and helping with stuff with the coaches and emailing other teams and stuff like that.
I just remember like we press box, it's segregated, but someone would pop in there and give us the starting lineups every once in a while. That'd be you. I feel like
okay. I feel like I do remember your face. Yeah.
So we've been broadcasting games out at Miami for now 3 years, and like I said, it's been a lot of time out there, but Oxford's a great place to be. We got a fun show for you guys today. We're going to talk about the Brewers owning the Reds. They win 9-1 over the Reds yesterday on the Businessman Special. I don't know if people are still going out to those anymore. Man, oh man. I had a tweet yesterday about just kind of my opinion on where Reds fans are in terms of their team, and it just feels like times are so bad that it's just lashing out in every which way. So we're going to do that. We're going to do a buy or sell later on today, and it's going to be baseball centric. And then, we're just going to have a fun show for you today. So we're going to take a short break when we come back here on Off the Bench. We're back on Off the Bench. I'm Ray Mouse filling in for Justin and Kenner, 1410 Wing AM. Jacob Tissett, Pearl Zabel in the room. The Reds fall to the Milwaukee Brewers in Game 3, the rubber match. And that, what is that stat up to on rubber match records? I don't have that in front of me, but it's
35? 34?
34 consecutive?
It's like 34
It's 34
and 4.
consecutive when they don't win the first game. They have won a couple rubber matches here and there, but it is, man, oh man, is it bad time. It is alarming that they haven't won a series in which they didn't win the first game since June of 2023. That's about the time where we were all sold on that 12-game winning streak being the start of the Reds dynasty as we know it. And 2 years later, we all know where that's headed. And they lose 9-1. It was Andrew Abbott's worst start of the year. His first bad start of the year. He's been absolutely flawless. We know that he's due, and any pitcher's due, for a couple duds every single year. Paul Skeens, Zach Wheeler, name them. They're all due for a couple duds here and there. It just happened that this one came against the Milwaukee Brewers. You're probably your biggest rival at this time. At least it feels like it, because they're always the one that you got to knock off the top. He goes 6 innings, gives up 5 earned runs. Any concern for Andrew Abbott, or do you think it's just a blip and the fact that you're playing the Brewers, so like he was doomed to begin with?
I would honestly say at this point in the season it is a blip, and you were just playing the Brewers, and it's something that you kind of expect to happen. If this was a month or two down the road, I would say, well, maybe this is the start of the annual fall-off for Andrew Abbott. But I do feel like we are still too early for that. He had been, I don't want to say too good, but he had been too good through his first few starts of this season. I mean, we saw the numbers that apparently weren't good enough to win Pitcher of the Month with a .55 ERA and a whip down in under 1. So unbelievable so far this season. And yesterday wasn't great, but it was still, is what it is. It was a few bad pitches here and there, and it still looked like an all right start until the bullpen came in. You had a chance, if you had a competent offense, to try to stick around. So we'll see what happens with him. I still am pretty confident that he's going to be the pitcher we've seen closer to the last few starts than yesterday.
Yeah. No, I agree. He's human. I mean, he really hasn't had any slip-ups or bumps in the road this season for any of his starts. I mean, he's allowed to have one of those every now and again. Mm-hmm. So, he's been our most consistent, I would say. So I'm not concerned at all. It is just a little bump in the road, and I'm sure he'll get right back on that horse next start.
Well, it's also at the point where there's so many other things going wrong, to where, like, if you start
this
worrying,
is the least
you start worrying about, is Andrew Abbott going to be okay? Then you got some real problems.
Yeah.
So it's
I'm just going to not worry.
Right. That's just way on down the list. I listened to the majority of the game on radio yesterday, and I'll give shout out to the radio broadcast team, because I don't want to say they called that Andrew Abbott was kind of being strenuous, and because obviously when you listen, you can't watch how well the pitches are being thrown, how hard he's working really. Obviously, the play-by-play and everything like that, but you don't have any visual representation of where they're at. And they did a good job of painting like, man, he might be trouble as we get to the second or this third time through the order. He might be in trouble because he's really stressing. And then, of course, Jackson Chourio makes it 3-1, and then you come on out there, and then it's a walk and a home run, and all of a sudden the game, as we all know, 5-1. That's not a game in which the Reds, at least to this point in the season, haven't shown that they're going to win. What's that? That's another stat. Man, it feels like the Reds are just compiling just negative stat after negative stat.
They're an all-time stat team this year.
It's can't win the rubber match. Can't win a series in which you lose the first game.
Of course not.
You cannot beat. It's now 13 straight series against the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah.
12.
Okay, we're not there yet.
Woo-hoo!
We're not there yet.
Come on, give us some credit.
Do you think it would get to 13?
What do you think, Reed? Did you think it was going to go to 12?
So you got 12 consecutive series losses to the Milwaukee Brewers. They are now, 0-30 something? Whatever it is. They're 0 for going into the 7th inning when trailing, which the 8th inning, 9th inning, never having an 8th and 9th inning come back, but that's 9 outs you got to work with, and you've never come back one time?
Right.
Now, we know the winning percentages when you're losing in the 7th inning aren't great. That's when teams bring in their best arms. That's when teams start really rearing it up and putting some pressure against you. But you haven't come back once? You haven't gotten lucky?
There's no luck in Cincinnati.
It's bad. It is an all-time stat season, and it is It's waning on pretty much everyone. It's waning on pretty much everyone, from the fans to the broadcast booth to local podcasters to even the manager. Even the manager, which I'll tease that one up for buy or sell later about what we're going to do with Terry Francona, or what's going to happen with Terry Francona at the end of this year. And it's something that's already kind of seeped into the minds of many, and maybe it's for the better with the way that people are talking about him. But at this point in the year, Elliot was in here yesterday. You get the miraculous win. I don't want to call it miraculous, but close to it. Maybe the play of the year this far, which an incredible play nonetheless. But if that's your first real highlight of the season, golly.
And it's June.
It is June. The middle of June, or I guess it's the start of June. But we are 2 months into this season, and this is the first one that you might remember for a long time.
To be fair to the Reds, the only highlight from last year we all still talk about is CES's walk-off. And what was that, game 2 of the year?
Spencer
against the
Steers'
Nationals?
grand slam against the Phillies. I remember that. That was the first week, too.
Okay.
I remember the first week.
At least we got to June this year.
After that.
Yeah. It was very, very exciting, and then the Mike Ford experiment didn't save the season.
Where's the whiteboard?
Where's the whiteboard?
we
We actually,
that.
that
That'd be
green
good.
screen should just have the takes behind it. Where are we at this year about, do we have takes?
The takes this year were actually, I mean, I know the record isn't phenomenal, but the takes this year were really good because it felt like the loudest fan base take was that Will Benson and Rhys Hines were going to save this team if Blake Dunn and Hurtubise got sent down. And the team might not be saved, but they were certainly right about the production of those two versus the other two.
I remember when I talked to you guys in the offseason about Will Benson. And because there's 2 guys that I have stand for since they've been up. Tyler Stevenson, who everyone sold stock on.
Yeah.
And I'll still hold that he's probably your second best player. Second best position player. Right, Ellie's number 1. Tyler Stevenson. And it's so important to have a great catcher. It puts you ahead of the 8 ball. Heck, Cal Riley, big dumper, is single-handedly saving the Mariners season when they started out slow. His MVP-type season has thrusted them at the top of the American League West.
Have you heard what Mariners fans are saying when he hits home runs?
No.
Dumpy go poo-poo. When he hits a home run, they go dumpy go poo-poo.
They just pump in fart noises.
I mean, it's incredible, is it not?
Dumpy go
poo-poo is my favorite thing I've ever heard.
Dumpy go poo-poo. They just pump in fart noises when the bat hits. And yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. But the point is when you have an elite catcher, and Tyler Stevenson isn't there yet, right? He's clearly not elite. I still think that there's the capacity for him to be a top 5 catcher in this sport. He's getting a little older, and we haven't really seen it come to fruition, but still a great catcher, and that puts you so far out of it. And then the other guy that I've always stand is Will Benson. And the reason that I stand him, because I know that in this sport, and it maybe hasn't shown with Will Benson in the past 2 years, but in this sport, there's one thing that I think translates for a long time and always has. And that is guys that have the capacity to have great at-bats. They see a lot of pitches. They take a lot of pitches. They work counts. They foul pitches off waiting for their pitch. And 2 years ago, that was Will Benson. Last year, he was still doing that. The problem was when you have a good eye and you're not hitting the ball very well, they just challenge you because they know you're not hitting the ball very well. Why dance around the zone when they can just challenge you with middle fastballs and you're going to swing right through it? And that's why he had the year he had last year. To where all he has to do is put the bat on the ball, pop a couple out of the park, and once again we're getting 2023 Will Benson back. But I remember talking in the offseason about Will Benson, and you and Elliot looked at me and go, "Oh, he ain't gonna make this roster. He ain't gonna make this roster." Which you guys are right. He didn't make the opening day roster, but I think we know he probably should have. I think we know that the team's better now because Will Benson's on the team.
Yeah.
So, what other takes have we had? that was the long-winded way about Will Benson.
CES is the new one coming up now. He's mashing in AAA on this rehab stint. The Reds are keeping him down there. I don't necessarily know why, unless there's some kind of timing thing that I don't know about. But he's hitting really, really well. And I think people are saying maybe CES is the power bat infusion to this lineup when he gets back. I know there's a lot of expectation that Austin Hayes, whenever he's in there, is a big bump, and with him out right now. Those two would probably be the other two offensively. That would be the main takes. And then Chase Burns, what you just said right there. I think that's probably the biggest point of contention within the Reds fan base right now. A lot of people are more okay, or I don't know if they want him necessarily to stay down, but are more understanding with the rationale behind keeping him down in AA, maybe even AAA for a long time. But it does seem like a lot of Reds fans are growing pretty tired of seeing him mow down minor league bats when Wade Miley is set to start next week.
There's a Twitter account. He's at TJ Stats.
Great account.
If you're a baseball nerd and you like stats, he puts out fantastic. His name's Thomas. I'm gonna try to butcher his last name. Nestico.
I think that's what I said in my head.
It's Nest Ico. All right. At TJ Stats put out a tweet last night of his top 10 pitching prospects, and who was number one? Throughout all Major League Baseball, throughout all the minor leagues, who was his top pitching prospect that hasn't made it to Major Leagues yet? Chase Burns. Someone who just, earlier this week, was said by the head of baseball operations here in Cincinnati was not going to be sent up anytime soon. And then Hunter Green goes down, and we know what the Chatterbox Reds guys say. There's no reason to not bring up Chase Burns. I know Jacob has a take where when you're pumping it as hard as Chase Burns can throw, when you're throwing it that hard, you only got so many innings, you only got so many pitches before the inevitability of something happens to that arm. So why are we wasting it down in the minor leagues? Is that the take?
That is the take. You told me not to be scared about injuries before they happen, and I guess that is fair, but at some point, if the guy's going to have a 1.6 ERA and what was it, a 125 batting average against we saw yesterday? He's been untouchable in the minor leagues, and I just don't know what you get out of him going, 6-3 in Chattanooga, and then 5-1 in Louisville. That's great, but can he get some wins for the Reds? Maybe. And if we have that rotation that we talked about at the beginning of the year, how great it was and how we don't even know where we're going to put some of the guys we already have seen, then yeah, I understand it more. But now as we get more layers to this, like Wade Miley had a 9 ERA in the minor leagues this year, and he's supposed to start on Monday.
And he's played 2 major league games in the last 2 years. He's 38 years old.
Right.
I literally joked yesterday to Jacob and said, in my head, he's in the same category as Rich Hill.
He's old left-hander who you hope can get some outs.
Innings, yeah.
But it's not looking good. Wade
hang
Miley
up.
obviously came in yesterday and threw the final 2 innings, and
It was awesome.
yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Terry said he hopes it was good for him, though.
It wasn't good because it felt like, at least in the minds of fans, when Wade Miley arrived to the Major League roster, he was DOA. They're like, what? What are we doing? Like, he had a 9 ERA, and he's, been a 10-year Major League pitcher, and he can't get outs in AAA. What do we think's going to happen when he gets to the majors? And, how are we going to reward him with his 2 innings in which he gave up 6 earned runs or whatever it was, 4 earned runs?
Yeah.
He's going to start in the most prestigious trophy in this sport for the Ohio Cup on Monday against the Cleveland Guardians. So what's the best case scenario with Wade Miley? That he sucks so badly on Monday that they have to DFA him? That they have, all right, Wade, sorry, this is done.
Yeah.
Like, he gives up 8 runs in 2 innings, and they just like, all right, we tried. We tried to get you innings. You had one job, and that was just to get us to the 6th inning with at least some capacity to win a ball game. Oh, we can't do that? Done. Let's bring up Chase Burns.
He does have the most Ohio Cup no-hitters in my lifetime. So maybe we get a second one on Monday?
Wade Miley, stat guy. Wade Miley. It's funny because it truly feels like that might be his best case to help this team. I'm not kidding. That might be his best case to help this team, because if he goes out there and he gives up 4 runs over 5 innings, he's going to get another start.
Right.
He's going to just keep middling around there until Hunter Green comes back, whenever that is.
I think that's what they want.
So maybe the best case scenario is that he sucks so badly that you force the Reds' hand in this, what TJ Stats and what a lot of people are saying is the best prospect in baseball on the bump, and Chase Burns.
What are the chances if Wade Miley stinks, the Reds call up Chase Burns and not someone we've never heard of that's starting in Louisville? What are the chances? Because I would say pretty low. Because when Nick Kroll said he's not coming up, He wasn't asked about if Chase Burns is going to join the Major League roster. He was asked about promoting him to Louisville from Chattanooga. I don't think it's anywhere in their mind that Chase Burns is going to play, and I think that can only be for contract reasons.
It's in their mind, but they don't want to do it. Right?
Okay.
Like they.
That's probably more fair.
It's in their mind, but they do not want to do it. Which, if your goal, which as far as we know, it still is to compete this year, 3 games under 500 in a National League that is getting better and better, in a Central Division that is getting better and better as the season progresses, and you are about to enter what is probably the toughest stretch of the year, this June, in which they do not play a team under 500. Well, I think the Diamondbacks are under 500 currently, but come on. We know the Diamondbacks are playoff contenders as well. You play a good team every single series until right before the All-Star break. Until where you get a little reprieve against the 2 worst teams in the National League. So if your mantra is as an organization, if still your goal is to compete in the year of our Lord 2025, then how do you not bring up Chase Burns when your ace pitcher has gone down? And it appears that Hunter Green, based off of the first IL stint, you can't let that happen again. So you're going to take your time with IL stint number 2. Because how could you not? You rushed him back. You hoped he could fight through it. He couldn't fight through it. Okay, he's still part of your future. You can't risk it now. And he's going to take his time to get back. What was the quote that Hunter Green had yesterday?
It's not concerning. It's just frustrating.
We've all had those injuries. Ones that just kind of linger. They don't let you be your full self. So I don't think it's going to be a long, long time. Just needs rest. Just needs to work on it a little more. But they're going to take their time bringing him back. They're not going to rush it. And every competitor is going to lie to their coach, lie to their trainer, and be like, hey, I want to go out there. I want to play. I'm good. And even beyond that, they'll probably still go, let's get you another week. Whenever he says, I'm fully 100%, let's give you another week. At least that's how I would approach the situation.
Yeah,
I'm not the Cincinnati Reds. You just can't send Hunter Green out there and then you get a long-term injury, not just a little nagging one.
I don't know how you can – I said it yesterday, but I don't know how you can point to this, a groin injury, one start in between his last IL stint and this one, and think it's something completely new. It seems like what they're trying to say here is that it's a new injury and it's something that we shouldn't worry about. I mean, this has to be a re-aggravation, right?
Oh, for sure.
It has to be. So, yeah, what Reed's saying there is absolutely right. As soon as he says he's ready, let's give him another week. And if that's 3 weeks from now and we're looking at the All-Star break in 2 weeks, and maybe he doesn't pitch till after the All-Star break, and that's completely fine by me.
Yeah.
But I also wonder if shutting Hunter Green down when he is healthy for a week or two at the trade deadline or near the All-Star break, is that a version of selling for this team? Is that a version of a decision to sell versus buy? And if they are close, do they consider rushing Hunter back, even though maybe they shouldn't because of the injury? I don't know.
You bring up a good question, and one that's been brought up on this show before, and it's starting to get in everyone's mind about what the outlook of this team is if they keep going down the path where they are seemingly going, and you're in the second, third week of July. What do you do? We'll get to that when we come back here on Off the Bench, 1410 Wing AM. So we're back here on Off the Bench. Remouse filling in for Justin Kenner on this Thursday, a gloomy Thursday. Hopefully those storms stay away so I can have a lovely day out in Oxford later today with my family. Also, hey, shout out to a lot of people in our lives. I don't know if you guys, obviously Casey had his baby a couple weeks back. Sean Spurlock had his kid this week, our boss. He had he welcomed their second child into their family this week. And my sister-in-law. I got a little niece yesterday. So
Very nice.
That was exciting.
Exciting.
Yeah, I haven't met her yet, and probably won't get to meet her. She's a preemie, so she's fine. Everything's good. But just out of caution, probably won't get to see her for a little bit of time. But I will get to see my sister-in-law probably later on tonight. I'm excited to do that. But hey, the Chatterbox fam, it's growing. Sean had his kid, Casey had his fam, so everything's going well. But before the break, I teased up. What do the Reds do if it kind of goes down the path that they're currently going? Because there's nothing more depressing than sitting on your heels and saying, getting through the trade deadline, it's not looking good. Like, you kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, but you're still in a bad position. And then you just go, all right, we're gonna run this roster back out there. Then you get into August, and you got the full roster. You didn't sell, you didn't buy, and it's just more of the same. And you just sit right there, and you're right around 81 games, and you're nowhere near the playoff contention. And that is by far the most depressing thing that can happen. Because at least when you sell, you're just like, all right, we'll see what the young guys are bringing up next year, and you get to see more young guys, and maybe you'll get to see some. You get to start worrying about winning and losing, and you get to start focusing on what individual performances look, and then it actually gets a little more exciting in that scenario. But Mark Fetters in the chat says, read the tea leaves. The Reds not trying to win. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think I disagree with that. I don't think that it's like they're so gung-ho on making sure this season works. But, we've been throwing around poker analogies a lot on this show recently. And the best way I can do it in poker terms is they look at their hand. It's not a great hand, but you can win with it. Maybe connecting cards low. You got 8-7, something like that. And you're not in a good spot, but you at least want to see the flop. And I think that's where the Reds are. They want to see what kind of lays out there. Maybe they get hot, because I still hold that we haven't seen the best Reds team yet this year. If you want any spin zone at all, and maybe it never comes, but we still haven't seen that Reds run where they're winning series after series. They make some comeback wins. They win games, steal games that they shouldn't have won. We haven't seen that yet. And over a course of 162, that will happen at some point. At least, maybe not for the Colorado Rockies, although shout out to them. They got their sweep. So maybe it just happened with the Colorado. The Colorado Rockies beat the Reds to the first win streak of the year. But at some point in 162, that is going to happen, where for 2 weeks, seemingly everything goes right. We haven't seen that with the Reds. Maybe it's coming soon. Maybe it doesn't come. Maybe it's later down on the year when things are already dead. But the Reds, I think, are sitting here just wading water, right? Just keeping their head above that water and seeing what happens. Maybe the cavalry comes. Maybe they throw you a life preserver and you win a couple series in a row, and then you're like, all right, well, do we buy now? But I don't know. Maybe I'm dead wrong on that. I don't know how you guys feel. That I don't think Mark says they're not trying to win. I still think they're trying to win. They just don't want to be too pot committed.
Yeah.
This is exactly what we said in 2023 at the trade deadline when we were leading the division at the All-Star break and all these young guys were playing well. We said, well, we don't know yet. It's still a lot of question marks. Let's not go all in. Let's see what these guys can do in the back half. 2024 comes around, that offseason. Well, let's bank on these young guys. Let's not go all in. Let's see what happens. Now it's 2025. Getting to the trade deadline, we're still treading water. We've been treading water for 3 years, man. At some point, you got to go one way or the other. If this core is not good enough, you got to get someone else that can be a catalyst for this team. Yeah. If you don't have a star in this core, you got to go get one if you want to say you're going to try to win. And if you think you have stars in this core, don't start Garrett Hampson and Connor Joe in the outfield. It feels very simple to go one way or the other. And I'm fine with either way. If they get to the trade deadline this year and they're 10 games back and they say, we want to blow it up, we're going to trade 2 of these starting pitchers and we're going to get a ton of prospects and we're going to suck for the last 3-4 months of this year, fine. It's not what I want, but fine. The worst case scenario is that they do what they did the last 2 years and just sit still. You got to make a choice. And I feel like you're not giving the few guys that we have seen play well a chance to do anything if you just stay still. Because we know this roster is not good enough to win. So if you're not going to make changes one way or the other, then what's the point? To just tread water again and hope you have your mind made up by next trade deadline? But that's what we said 2 years ago, and we're still here.
Well, that's why it's so bleak for Reds fans right now. I've said it on this show, I think last time I hosted, that things are more bleak for Reds fans right now than they've ever been, at least in the last 15 years that I've followed it closely here in Cincinnati. And the reason that I believe that is because Reds fans were sold a bill of goods. They believed in this prospects coming up. They finally bought into the change. They finally said, all right, we've got these young guys. We saw what they did in 2023, where it didn't matter how many runs that pitching staff gave up. This team was going to compete. They were going to score a lot of runs. And it was driven by the young core. It was driven by Ellie De La Cruz. It was driven by Matt McLain. It was driven by Noelvi Marte. It was driven by CES. It was driven by all these young guys. And you said, all right, the future is finally bright. And now over the last 2 years, it hasn't been a whole lot of development. Hasn't gotten a little better. All the pieces, all the quote-unquote core has regressed in some way. And it doesn't appear like it's going to get better, which we just talked, I think, last time I hosted about whether you send Matt McLain, or I was on the show Monday, about what you do with Matt McLain. Do you send him down to AAA? And if the idea is it's just going to ride this core, the core's got to be good, then it's just like, all right, well, then Matt McLain's got to be good. Maybe you just ride it out with them. you just keep throwing him out there because at some point he's got to be a center cog of this team. And he's got to figure it out, which is kind of what you said right there is like, all right, if this core's got to be good, then let's just play the core and see what happens. And that's what it feels like this front office was waiting on this core to just finally boom, and it never happened. Which, like I said, it's why things seem bleak. And you're wondering, in kind of this pit of despair of where we go from here. What now? Do we trade off pieces? Do we look to bring in some more young guys? Do we start it all over? Do we scrap it up? And those are questions that the front office, at the Castellinis, Nick Kroll, Terry Francona, everyone that's in part of those decisions are going to have to answer to here in the next month. Like I said, I don't know where we go from here. I called it an opportunity for the next month, playing all these good teams, good team after good team after good team until the beginning of July on a team that seemingly hasn't played their best baseball yet, hasn't had that run where it seems like nothing can go wrong, haven't even had games where they've come back and had miracle wins, that maybe you'll see something that can get you a little fired up. Maybe you can get something, all right, if this continues, we buy one piece, maybe we got a shot. But it just doesn't seem like that.
It doesn't feel like it should be the one-piece conversation anymore. The Reds' payroll this season after the Alexis Diaz move is the exact same payroll as it was in 2022 when they lost 100 games. I know that the Reds ownership can't spend money with the big dogs. They're not going to be the Dodgers. They're not going to be the Mets. You can't sell me on this. There's no way you can sell me on a $115 million payroll. That's not what you have to do. That's not small market. That's where you lose me on trying to win.
Yeah, it's funny. The Cubs have actually changed my opinion on roster construction here in the MLB recently, because if you look at the last 25 years, you go back even 30 years of World Series winners, good teams that are consistently good, they have one thing in common. They have one really prevalent thing in common, and that is they've had great development. You go back to when the Yankees, the last dynasty in the sport, the Yankees won 4 out of 5 World Series. Their team was mostly homegrown guys. Derek Jeter, Jorge Posada, Bernie Williams. Now, they supplemented it, Andy Pettit was another one. Mariano Rivera. They supplemented it with guys like Roger Clemens, guys like David Justice, Jason Giambi came around, Alex Rodriguez. Obviously, they won in 2009. But the core of World Series winners, the Houston Astros, not this most recent LA team, but the Dodgers team that won in 2020, the Cubs, the Royals, the Giants, the Cardinals, the Red Sox, the 3 times that they've had 3 different teams win the World Series. They've all been homegrown guys. And up until recently, I believe, and I still believe, certainly for small markets, that's how you got to do it. It's got to be homegrown guys, and then you get 1 or 2 veterans that bring it in and maybe tie it all together. But maybe the sport's changing, because I look at the Dodgers who won the World Series last year, and they spent more money than anyone. And it was the first time that you basically bought a championship. The LA Dodgers did it, which is why we've had this bit in this room about the best thing for baseball is that the Dodgers three-peat. And then they get a salary cap in baseball, and maybe things will even out. I look at the Chicago Cubs, who are obviously my favorite team. They're first place, and I think they still have the best record in the National League. All their guys, a good majority of their team, aren't homegrown guys. Kyle Tucker, traded in. Dansby Swanson, free agent. Seiya Suzuki, free agent. Shota Imanaga, free agent. Michael Busch was traded in. PCA, yeah, we developed him. We traded for him. Now it's part of the rebuild. But it's more often than not, the majority of the team, guys that Carson Kelly, free agent signing. Guys that we brought in. Guys that you sign in. So maybe the league is changing to that for the first time in my life. And I know it feels like it's been like that for a long time, because you have seen teams, like even though the Yankees only have 1 World Series over the last 25 years, they're consistently good. Even though the Dodgers before last year had won 1 championship in 40 years, they were always winning the National League West. Always winning it. And that was because they were spending a lot of money. I would also say it was because they're developing. So maybe the game is getting away from the Reds. Maybe the game is. And it's becoming abundantly clear that the quote-unquote core isn't up to snuff. At least not enough to win in this National League. And I don't know whose fault it is. I don't know if it's Nick Kral's fault. I don't know if it's the development team, whether it be your hitting coaches along the way, whether it be the training staff that I know everyone I think it's a funny thing that everyone likes to blame, like when injuries start happening, they're like, what's going on with our training staff? Although I think it was last year where the Reds couldn't seem to get their x-rays right.
We had an inconclusive x-ray about a week ago, so they're back.
I didn't go to medical school. As you know, not that bright. I don't know how you get an x-ray wrong. I don't.
It's either broken or it's not, man.
Consistently wrong. Like, you might be like, there's a stress fracture there. But, like, I think there was an away player last year, right, that came in, got an x-ray here. Was it our guy? Was it Steele?
I thought it was Nico.
Well, it was Nico. That's right. Nico Horner got an x-ray in Cincinnati. Wasn't broken. We get him back to Chicago, broken. I know it's a funny bit to talk about the training stuff, but like if we don't have a proper x-ray machine, listen, I can go on Main Street here in Hamilton, Ohio, old Hamiltucky. I can go to urgent care and get an x-ray, and they'll show me it for $45.
So we're telling CES to urgent care after he gets hit by a pitch.
We'll ship him on up I-75. We'll take him to Hamilton's urgent care. We'll take him to the Kroger Little Clinic. We'll go to the little clinic at Kroger, and we'll get good x-rays this time. Like I said, I know it's a bit, but that one's bad. That one's bad. Point is, I don't know whose fault it is for the core being where it's at. I don't know if too much pressure was brought on to them, but it's so clear that it might not be what we thought it once was in 2023. Which, hey, maybe that's the case across the board. 2021, Chicago White Sox win 100 games. 2 years later, they're done. 2023, the Orioles almost win 100 games. 2 years later, selling it all off. I don't know what that says for Major League Baseball, as I'm seemingly getting closer and closer to getting out of frame. But the Reds aren't in a good spot. And they've got a lot of figuring out to do over the next month. We're going to talk more Reds when we come back here on 1410 Wing AM. Welcome back to the always perfectly structured Off the Bench here on 1410 Wingham Remouse, filling in for Justin Kenner, Jacob Tissett, Pearl Zabel in the room. And we're going to play a little buy or sell. I feel like whenever I come on the show, we do a game. I don't watch religiously.
You are a game-oriented guy, so
Correct.
It makes sense that you bring them to the show with you.
Explain how I'm a game-oriented guy. Explain that.
I don't know. I just feel like if anyone is going to be a fill-in host on this show and have games ready to go, I would put money on you without the prior knowledge, and you've filled those shoes pretty perfectly.
I do. Anytime I ask someone a question, it normally is preceded by, I'll give you $1 if you could answer this. And that $1 has never came out.
You also, and it's, I guess, sort of a game, you also love asking questions with exactly one answer.
Right.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite read bits.
Like, what was your favorite businessman special against the Brewers this year?
Right.
What was
yeah.
yours, Jacob?
Yeah, sadly, even though it was not very fun, it would probably have to be yesterday.
Right. Also your least favorite.
Right, yeah.
Also your least favorite. Funny enough. That is the games I like to play. I like to do that. So, we're going to play buy or sell, and it's going to be Reds related. Kind of questions that we've teetered on over the last 2 weeks when things have taken a turn for their worst, right? You keep trying to hold out some hope. You keep trying to find that glimmer, but things just continue to pile on and pile on. So it's been a topic of conversation on Chatterbox Reds, on local talk shows. We'll do it on this local talk show. Buy or sell, Matt McClain will turn it around this year. Jacob.
All right, I'm going to do what we always do on this show, define turn it around.
He is an OPS plus. He's a league average hitter.
I'll say yes. Okay. I'll say yes. I think that is a requirement of him going down at some point to get some confidence back. I think that has to be pretty bad at this point, but I will buy that. I think that might be a more optimistic buy than anything else, because if he's not a league average hitter, oh boy, what is this team for the rest of the season? What is this core going into next year? So he better be, and I'll buy it, I guess, out of optimism.
Are we saying that he turns it around with or without getting sent to AAA?
I think he would have to get sent down to get there.
You think he has to?
Almost has to get sent down to get, because it doesn't look like he's just going to start hitting major league pitching at some point. So, when Clay Thompson shoots it after the whistle, you see it go through the hit room and he gets hot the next quarter.
Crossing their fingers and shoving him out there for 2 months straight, hoping something will click. And
he's got to see the ball go through the hoop at some point. And if that has to be AAA, it has to be AAA. He had a 100-mile-an-hour double yesterday, so maybe baby steps.
He's still batting 176.
But we'll see what happens.
It's one at bat.
Yeah, I'm not optimistic. He's got to go down.
Hey, he could just call up some guys from the Cincinnati Adult Baseball League to pitch to him, just so he can see some go over the
That's
fence,
what I'm saying.
right?
Just get Wade Miley to pitch
contact.
There you go, Pearl. There you go.
What Pearl say?
She said put Wade Miley in there for some BP.
Yes, that's Wade. Everyone's looking for their purpose in life, right? When you are in your pit of despair, you're like, what am I supposed to do with my life? Am I supposed to be a dad? Am I supposed to be a great brother? Whatever it is. Wade Miley's purpose for the Cincinnati Reds right now is to get Matt McClain right. He pitches to Matt McClain every day before the game.
I like that.
Every day before the game, just so Matt McClain just keeps hitting some gappers.
I like that. I hope he doesn't hit Gapper.
Correct. Do not hit Gapper.
No, don't hit Gapper.
Mr. Redleg, you're allowed to hit. The greatest segment in the history of this show was when we went over the genealogy of the Reds mascots. I think there's still something to unfold there.
There's a lot of questions to be.
I think Mr. Red's weird and unnecessary.
Pearl, do you think what's the relationship between Mr. Redleg,
Are we doing this again?
Rosie, and Mr. Red? In your opinion?
It's weird because that is a question, but I don't know.
Are Mr. Redleg and Rosie Red dating? Are they married? Or is Mr. Red with Rosie?
And it's their
Mr. Red's just like an awkward thing on the side.
Okay, so you think Mr. Redleg and Rosie are together?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Mr. Red's the child?
I don't know.
And Gapper's the
I don't
pet.
think he's
Gapper's
a child.
the pet.
Gapper's the
I think
pet.
that has to be.
I always thought Rosie was the child. I thought Rosie and Mr. Red were the child of Mr. Redleg. But Rosie wears an old style uniform similar to Mr. Redleg, so it makes sense.
They seem to go together, but Mr. Red, I just feel like is so unnecessary. You already have the guy mascot, the girl mascot, and you have the fun kid mascot for Gapper. I'm like, Mr. Red just seems so unnecessary.
Buy or sell. Rosie Red and Mr. Redleg are in a relationship. Buy.
Okay, I will find that answer.
Buy. And Gapper's the pet.
You're gonna find like a Reddit form or something.
I think we've looked up this before. They do have bios on the Reds website.
Are you
There's
serious?
also
have bios on the
mascots.com.
Reds. Yeah, there's a mascot. While he's doing that, let's do buy or sell with the next one. I will buy that Matt McClain will turn it around. I will buy that Matt McClain by the end of the year. He's not going to be nearly what he was in 2023. That ship has already sailed. But I think he's going to be a league average hitter. I think
I
his
agree with
OPS
that.
plus will approach 100, and he's got a lot of work to do. Like, he's got to be like a 115 hitter for at least 2 months just to get him back to where he is right now. Jacob, you don't like this? I see a grin on your face.
Officially, they're just a group of friends.
That's not fun.
Officially, there is no family genealogy between
Mr.
the
Redleg
mascots.
is so much older than the rest of than at least Mr. Red.
Now, I will say, Rosie Red is 5'11 and 101 pounds of fun. Mr. Redlegs is 3 Louisville Slugger bats tall and a lean 200. Mr. Red is 19 mitts tall and 215 pounds with no equipment. Gapper, just 5'7".
Who's
and
19
7
mitts tall?
quarters. Sorry?
Who's
Mr. Red.
Mr. Red is
19 mitts tall and
not
215 pounds.
He's 19 mitts.
That's correct.
They cannot have fingers. They
No,
have to be a mitt.
It's 19 mitts tall. He likes Fireworks Fridays and a well-worn-in glove. Gapper's 5'7" and 3/4. He's a few pounds less than the elevator limit.
Can you imagine being the person that has to be Gapper, like the I don't know what you call him, but yeah, the person that has to be the mascot? And how much do you weigh? A lot, like 30, a few pounds less than the elevator. 3,500 pounds in that Thyssen Krupp elevator. Yep, it's 3,400 is how much Gapper weighs. That's how big I am.
Rosie's career goal is a dance-off with Tampa Bay's Raymond.
I think we can get
I
that.
think we can make that happen.
Why
I think
has
we can
she
get
not
that.
achieved that goal?
I don't know.
Well, the Rays are looking for a place to stay. Maybe you
That's true.
just say, hey, you can come to Cincinnati for a little bit.
That'd be fun.
What if the Tampa Bay Rays turn into just a traveling show? They just play
Instead of the party animals, it's just the Bananas versus the Rays 162 times a year.
That's where they go. All right, let's get this show back on the road. If it ever was on the road to begin with, I think we've been kind of off it. The Reds, buy or sell. The Reds will get more than one All-Star this year.
I'm going to sell it. I think there's only one in the mix. I think right now, if you had to bet, it would either be Abbott or Friedel. And I think for the Reds to get 2, one of the guys in that mix has to be a bigger name. The only reason they got 2 last year was Green and Ellie.
Yeah.
If Hunter keeps missing time and Ellie's not playing great, I don't think they get in.
Do you think that Ellie is not going to be all like he's? I know he's.
He could be our one,
I was going to say.
but I'm saying I don't think we'll get a second.
I think Ellie's in the All-Star game just for
Name value.
Yeah, reputation alone.
Yeah.
I think he's like I did this bit last year that Ellie De La Cruz is a superstar, and the reason that I realized that was because I went to my cousin's youth games, and there were kids wearing 44 all over the place. Now we're here in Cincinnati, so obviously it hits a little home, but 44. Before Ellie De La Cruz was in the league, you ever seen people wear 44 before? Young 12-year-olds? No. And because of Ellie De La Cruz, people are wearing chains. My nephews wear chains when they play. And they wear 44 because Ellie De La Cruz. I think Ellie De La Cruz is in. So
I agree. I was saying for our second All-Star right now, it would have to be either Abbott or Friedel. And last year we only got 2 because it was Green and Ellie. I think if it was going to be 2 for a team that's going to be significantly under 500 at that point and out of the race, has to be name value. I think they just give it to Ellie. I don't think Friedel or Abbott.
if I asked this question a week ago, would you have bought
Yes.
because of Hunter Green?
If you would have asked this question yesterday, I would have bought because of Abbott.
Okay. Pearl, buy or sell, they get more than one All-Star. It's in Atlanta, right? They're sending more than one Red to Atlanta.
I'm not losing faith in. I think Abbott still could. If he, it depends if he like dies off a little towards the All-Star break, but I feel like he would be very appealing to be a part of that. So I'll say bye. Probably Abbott, Ellie.
Okay. Yeah, I think they get one for sure with Ellie De La Cruz. I mean, he'd have to be hurt for him to not be on the All-Star roster. So, and Abbott's what's his ERA? Even though he gave up 5 runs yesterday,
2.1 or something. Like that?
2.1.
something like that.
So it'd have to go bad. I think Abbott's a pretty.
But,
pretty
like,
at
he
this
just had
current
one
moment, I
blip.
think Andrew Abbott's a pretty safe bet to make the All-Star team. So
Yeah.
I'll buy this. And I see some people getting on me about wearing number 44. Obviously, Eric Davis was number 44. I wasn't denying the fact that there has been great number 44s that have played baseball before. I'm simply denying the fact that if you go to a youth baseball game, there weren't kids wearing 44. And I bet you in the 90s there weren't kids wearing 44 because also back in the 90s, you just got them at your local jersey thing and they just went numbers 1 through 12.
Size.
Yeah, it was literally just 1 through 12, and they're just like, all right, you get to be 1, you get to be 2, you get to be 3, you get to be 4. There wasn't any preference. Can I be 44 for Eric Davis? Also, you take anyone. The percentage of 12-year-olds that know who Eric Davis is, I'm gonna put it at pretty much 1%, and that 1% is only because they know someone named Eric Davis. Like their cousin is Eric Davis. Like there's no one that knows that's 12 years old that knows who Eric Davis is as a ball player. I'm sorry to tell you. And he was fantastic. He was electric. It was 40 years ago, 35 years ago. I just don't think a lot of young kids know. And that's sad, but that is what it is. All right, buying or selling. Hunter Green, you brought this up earlier, and I'm glad you brought this up. Hunter Green will be back before the All-Star break. Buying or selling?
I'm going to sell it out of, again, optimism. I do not want him to pitch before the All-Star break. I don't think you gain anything from having him pitch before the All-Star break. If he's already going to miss 2 starts and miss 15 days, then what are you having him come back for? 2 starts then before the All-Star break? 1 start before the All-Star break? Not something I'm interested in. Give him the extra week. I'm going to sell it because it's what I want to happen. And I think it truly is a 50-50 at this point.
Sell, fingers crossed, because I don't think they need to rush him back. Although I know that's kind of a track record with the Reds organization. They like to rush our players that are injured and then face repercussions later. But hopefully they learn from this time around, and we're not gonna have a third time around. So sell.
Yeah, does it come into play at all? I know I said if they're in contention, maybe they rush him back to try to get a more real grasp of what this team is before the trade deadline, and that's something I understand. But could it go the other way as well? If it gets really, really poorly, maybe not before the All-Star break, but right after, rushing him back if he doesn't feel great because he's one of very few guys on this team that put butts in seats. And if this team's going to be out of it, you at least get 1 every 5 days of Hunter Green. If something else pops up, could they have more reason for an eliminated Reds team to use Hunter Green than maybe if they are right around that bubble where you aren't sure?
Yeah, if they are playing good, if they win 3 or 4 straight consecutive series, and Hunter Green says he's ready to go. What I just said earlier about they're going to give him an extra week, I still think they might do that, but there's going to be a little more incentive to get him back on that mound to give you the best chance to win 1 out of 3 series. But it's going to be close because 15-day, right? Mm-hmm. Still a little banged up at the end of the 15-day where, he's telling you it's 100%, but we do what we think is going to happen. They're going to say, all right, we're going to give you an extra week on top of whatever you say, however long it takes to get this, just to make sure you're right. Now, all of a sudden, it's June 28th, and you're going to get 1-2 starts before the All-Star break. Maybe just give him the whole time.
Yeah. Also, the fact that it's not just his groin, it's his back alium. They put him on the IL before the MRI was even done because of his back. So it's 2 issues, not 1.
Yeah. I'll sell. I'll sell he gets back before the All-Star break.
Where do you think Reds fans stand? I'll put a poll in the chat as well, but do you think they want him back? Not will he be back, but do you think Reds fans want him back before the All-Star break?
Depends what kind of fan, though.
That's a good question. I think if I was a Reds fan, I wouldn't want him back. Cause
I don't. Because
I think I want if this is me putting myself in your shoes, and I'm as optimist as it is when it comes to everything. Bengals, you guys know my Bengals take. I wait for something to happen and I try to spin it as positive as possible. I do that with the Reds. I do that with the Cubs and everything. And I still hold by the fact that the Reds haven't played their best baseball this year. Hopefully it comes sooner rather than later. And you can start talking yourself into something. Start talking yourself into we've got a shot to make the postseason. But if I was a Reds fan, seeing what I'm seeing, I think I just kind of want to scrap it and try again in 2 years. That's where I would be. But I understand the other way. Maybe you rattle off 3 or 4 consecutive series wins against good teams. And obviously that'd be good for this show. That'd be good for Chatterbox and all that stuff. I'm thinking practically, and it seems more likely that the best case is to sell what you got.
It's too close.
The Nick Martinez's, the TJ Friedels, yada, yada, yada. So, I don't know.
It was released that Martinez was on the list on ESPN of people that are open to be traded on the trade block. So Reds seem to at least be leaning towards sell at this point in time.
You know what my least favorite thing that some general managers and some front office people say is when they go, they're not on the trading block. We will not hear calls. Like if Duke Tobin came out, and like this is something that I like very well. We will not take calls for Joe Burrow. There's a price for everything. there's a price for everything. You're telling me if the Baltimore Ravens want to call up and we'll give you Lamar and our next 2 first-round picks for Joe Burrow, you're turning that down? I love Joe. I'd rather have Joe than Lamar, but I ain't turning that down. There's always a price. And I hate that's just a little pet peeve that I have when they're like Hunter Green's not on the block. Ellie De La Cruz, we're not fielding calls for Ellie De La Cruz. And then someone wants to call up and give you their top 7 prospects and 2 major league guys. They want to give you 9 players for Ellie De La Cruz. You're going to turn that down? Yeah. That's an annoying thing that I always get. There's always a price. So you leave that phone line open. So Nick Martinez, TJ Friedel, those pieces, we'll see. All right, buy or sell. Final one I got for you. Terry Francona, Tito, the Hall of Famer. Guy to save this city, 10-win player, 10-win manager, Terry Francona. Will be one and done. He's done after this year.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it. He looks miserable. He hates his life, and that place in Phoenix is really, really cool. There's a cool pool in the backyard. I think he had a putting green right next to the pool. It looked like an awesome, awesome place for him to live. I wouldn't want to be in Cincinnati either, coaching this miserable team. So he looked like he was having fun for the first couple months, but that's all out the window now. I don't think we've seen a smile in a couple days. So, yeah, I'm out on Tito. I think he's hanging it up after this year, and I wonder what that means for the Reds. How does that change the national outlook on this franchise if you get a Hall of Fame manager to come in and have 1 year and leave because he can't handle how bad your franchise is? That's not very good for the optics of a team that's really riding on an image that they haven't upheld for the last 30 years anyway. So I think it's pretty scary, and I think it could be one of the biggest losses for the Reds in terms of a national media appearance of the team and organization that they've had in a very, very long time. I think he's done after this year, and I think it's really bad for this organization.
Pearl?
I don't know. I don't agree. I just don't see him doing that. Like, I don't know. He just doesn't give me the vibe that he came out of retirement, he's going to break a contract, and, like, I don't know. I just don't see that.
Does he give you the vibe that he's having fun right now?
No, but I just don't think. Maybe he talked a whole 3-year plan. Like, it was 3 years for a reason. Maybe he sat down with the organization and talked out a plan for the 3 years, and maybe in his head he knew that this wouldn't be the year anyway, and maybe, like, there was a plan through the 3 years. So, you know, maybe all his cards weren't in this year anyway. He didn't realize how taxing this would be on him, but I don't see him as a one and done. Maybe I'm wrong. But if he was, maybe that's the shakeup that Reds front office needs, because normally we dismiss the managers, like, so when's the last time that's happened? Like, and somebody of that significance would walk away from the Reds organization. That would be serious, and maybe that's what the front office needs.
Yeah, I think it's the reason that this question has started being posed is the same things that we've talked about, is that it looks more and more bleak on the future. It looks like hope, the same hope that we've been holding on to here in Cincinnati for 3-4 years now, is becoming more and more bleak. And Terry is becoming more and more frustrated. And we're seeing that boil over. I know a lot of people don't like the way that he's been talking to a local favorite here in Charlie Goldsmith. And I'll be honest here, when I see those clips, it makes me a little frustrated. Like,
I agree.
Why are you treating him like that? Why are you talking to him like that? He's just trying to do his job, and he's asking questions. And I'm sorry that you don't like the question, but it's his job to ask the questions that you don't want to answer. It just appears more and more that he's not enjoying it here. And when you've tasted that retirement lifestyle, you don't want to put up with a job that's not enjoyable. My wife recently, and obviously we're not retired, but my wife recently took up just a little part-time gig to earn some extra money. And she was complaining about it the other day. And I told her, and I looked at her, I was like, hey, if this job is ever not fun for a second, you lose it, right? You stop doing that. And maybe that's where Terry's at. He gets back to wherever he lives in the offseason. I think it's Arizona. And he just goes, That wasn't a whole. That was a brutal 6 months that I just put myself through. Do I want to do that again? Do I want to see this thing through? And maybe there's a sort of I signed up for 3 years. I'm going to see it through because there are stubborn people in this world like that.
Also, I just feel like maybe I don't know how he feels about it with himself, but obviously he is one of the top managers on record. So maybe to uphold his reputation, also, like, I don't feel like he would walk away after a year.
I was saying the exact opposite.
Oh, really?
Because of his reputation, he would step away.
I don't know. I can see it
If
both
you
ways.
can't turn around this Reds core, people will look at Terry Francona differently if this is the last image they have in their head.
He's
if
not
he steps away
God,
from
though.
the
These
Reds,
are the cards he's dealt. But it just
the
depends.
cards he's dealt. He's been terrible this year.
Yeah. But I don't know if people would look at him worse for walking away, quitting, or for trying to stick it out with the cards he's dealt. I don't know.
Well, I'll be honest. As I'm talking through this, I'm convincing myself the other way because I wanted to buy this. I really did. I wanted to buy just by the demeanor that he has, just by whatever he was sold as this team to come out of retirement. That's looking a little more bleak. So I was like, I don't think he's going to do this. I don't think he's going to do this. Then I talked myself into kind of the headspace that is a stubborn, older, different generation Terry Francona, to where, and this is a testament to that generation, when they say they're going to do something, they're going to do it. Terry Francona, say what you want about this season and the way he's managed, the way that he treats some beat writers here in this city. He appears, to his testament, a man of his word. And if he says that he's gonna manage your team for 3 years, well, he's gonna live up to it. So I think I talked myself.
You can get some health issues to creep back in. You get a little excuse to get out of here, which maybe happened before when he left the Guardians a year early.
I like how we put a tinfoil hat on. Jacob's a big tip. He's a nothing as it seems guy. He likes the conspiracies. I'm selling this. I think Terry's gonna be back next year.
If the Reds finish above 500, 500's the line. If they're below, he's gone.
For what it's worth, PZ Pearl, she convinced me the other way. She put out a convincing argument there that Terry. Anyone ever called you PZ before?
No.
Well, there you go.
I'd swap Terry for old DB right now.
What is more cowardly? Let me put this. Terry, whatever, isn't back next year. What is more cowardly? The Reds front office calling David Bell and saying, hey, we fired you. Well, would you want your job back? Because that's pretty cowardly.
Yeah.
But I think the only thing that could be more cowardly is David Bell taking the job.
Okay, I was going to say David Bell calling the Reds. Hey, that job opened back up.
Well, that would be worse.
Isn't
that
he
would
with
be
Toronto
worse.
now or something?
Yeah, but he's just chilling in the front office.
Oh, okay. I forgot what he was doing.
Yeah, he's not managing. So I don't know. I mean, I certainly would rather have David Bell than I posed the question to Pearl before the show today. I think it's been thrown around on Twitter quite a bit. Who maximizes a poor roster better, David Bell or Terry Francona? And I think that answer is pretty easy.
Correct. No, there's no doubt about that. You certainly, the way that David Bell manages, to the testament of those guys that I fought for the last year about, because I was a fire David Bell because he'd been here for 6 years and his best accomplishment was finishing third place in the National League Central. I was like, we've seen it with 3 different iterations of this team. Let's try something else. And to the testament of you guys, I said David Bell is the right guy for this job. If your roster is built on platoon splits and lefty-righty matchups and all that good stuff, then maybe you want a guy that's actually going to do that. I've always been that a dominant leader, someone that's good leadership gets the best out of human beings, and it's pretty clear that Terry Francona is a good leader. At least he's given us no reason to believe otherwise in the past 25 years that he's managed. And I don't know. I guess I'll chicken out right there. I'll still hold that good leadership matters, managers matter. I will never believe of the otherwise. But it's pretty clear that he's pretty frustrated. But I think he'll come back. And we'll come back after this short break here on 1410 Wing AM. Welcome back to Off the Bench. Remouse filling in for Justin Kinner. We've talked a lot about the Reds, and we're going to do one more segment at least on the Reds. Pearl Zabel, Jacob Tissett here in the room. So I had this epiphany, and it had been, we ended the last segment talking about Terry Francona and the frustrations with the fans on Terry, with what seemingly has been this season, and it appears that frustrations have boiled over pretty much every aspect of the Cincinnati Reds. And I like to mirror. Obviously, I'm a Chicago Cubs fan. There's no secret about that. I like to mirror my opinions on the Cubs, or at least what Cubs fandom is like, to what Reds fandom's like. And obviously, the Cubs have had a lot more to celebrate in my lifetime. One pennant, multiple times in the postseason, I think 4 times in the NLCS. So it's a lot different. Obviously, they frequently attempt to win. It doesn't seem like the Reds obviously do that. The Cubs seemingly always buy at the trade deadline. They're always getting free agents because they have bigger money, all that stuff. I get that it's a lot more fun over there. But I was thinking about Terry Francona, who is going to be in Cooperstown someday. He won 2 World Series. He won another American League pennant for a terrible franchise, or at least a franchise that has the longest World Series drought, and the ball club from Cleveland. And Reds fans don't like Terry now. And I started thinking about every Hall of Famer that has been a part of the Cincinnati Reds organization in one way or another in my lifetime. I was born in 1996. And sans Marty Brennaman, it appears that not everyone, but at least a widget enough of the pie has hated every single Hall of Famer that has been associated with the Cincinnati Reds. I'm talking Terry Francona now. I'm talking Joey Votto. How many times that we'd heard about Joey Votto after he signed that $200 million contract? We're paying him all this money to walk?
On this very show.
You're not going to drive in runs? Walk. I'm talking Dusty Baker is going to get in Cooperstown someday. They drove Dusty Baker out of town as a manager. And all he did was have winning season after winning season. Now, granted, he never got to the level at which the roster probably was at. Never won a playoff series. And then obviously we knew what happened for the 5 years after that. Came in last place every single year after Dusty Baker was fired. I'm going to King Griffey Jr., who maybe the only good memory with King Griffey Jr. in a Cincinnati Reds uniform was the day he signed the contract. And I know that the part of that is because he didn't live up to that contract, and I get it. But he was the most celebrated and still might be the most celebrated baseball player in the last 40 years. They didn't like his time in Cincinnati. The Reds didn't like him here. Prima donna. Wouldn't move positions. I don't know if you guys remember that one. Wouldn't move out of center field. Barry Larkin, bit stretch here. Took a bit of a stretch here, but have you heard any nice things about Barry Larkin in the booth now? Because I certainly haven't. And I think that this is all a culmination of frustration. We've heard the phrase. I've said it. We've all said it before. Winning cures all. And this team hasn't won a playoff series since 1995. And it has bubbled over to the players and the people in the organization that we should celebrate. Hall of Famers, people that are going to be enshrined in the most prestigious Hall of Fame in sport in this country, Cooperstown. The only one that we kind of really even care about. I know there's a lot of NFL players that care. And you know what? I take that back. We care about them all. But Cooperstown holds its own place. And we hate those guys. And I get it. It's just frustration. But I think of it as a Cubs fan. I can't think of marginally good Cubs players that we hate. Wilson Contreras, because he defected to the rival Cardinals and said he wants to go play for a winning franchise. Hate him. Everybody else don't hate. Fonzo Soriano signed a $170 million contract, never won jack squat. Lou Piniella, we liked every single manager, we liked every single good player. I don't mean to talk about the Cubs. I'm just saying, like, it's just a weird juxtaposition. That maybe there's a couple Reds players in memory that are universally loved. Brandon Phillips, one of them. Todd Frazier?
Yeah.
Jay Bruce isn't.
No.
Johnny Cueto's shimmy rubbed people the wrong way. They didn't like Johnny Cueto for a while. Luis Castillo, I don't think he, even as good as he was ever like beloved in this city. People liked him, but I don't think people give him enough credit. It's just weird. Am I wrong here? Am I wrong in thinking that it's weird that the Hall of Famers that have been through this organization for the last 2 decades, whatever it is, that they're almost all disliked in some way?
Yeah, this was a frustrating take to read last night when you tweeted it out because it's 100% true, and I don't like it at all. And I know Ellie's not a Hall of Famer yet, but we're certainly trending that way with the star player of this team as well. So, yeah, it's very, very frustrating. Now, I do feel like with a couple of the examples on that list, Votto especially, it's a very vocal minority.
I don't think it's a minority. I think if
you polled Reds fans, they like Joey Votto.
Most people love Joey Votto.
If you go to a game at GABP, it is still distantly the number one jersey.
Let me ask a question. If I asked Reds fans in 2019 what percentage of people like Joey Votto?
Well, 100% of Reds fans like Joey Votto, and then there's some percentage of non-Reds fans that hate him.
I think that his personality that shined the last few years that he was here.
Kinner said the TikToks cost us wins.
Besides Justin Kinner, I think that did him a lot of favors. I think when he was
100%.
I think when he was the quiet guy that you didn't get to see his personality at all, people did not like Joey Votto. I think almost half of Reds fans did not like Joey Votto.
Wow. Well, I mean, if that's the case, that's certainly not a part of the Reds fandom that I spend a lot of time with. I feel like Joey Votto is one of the best examples of, a whole city loving one guy through a period of time. At least when I was a kid, it certainly felt that way. Votto and Phillips were the two that I would put in that group of most people like them. I know there is a lot of loud Votto hate, but I can't wrap my head around that being a majority of the fan base. But it does certainly seem like a problem for the best player on the team, and I think that comes back to the lack of success. And where else do you point, right? If you have a Hall of Famer on a team that doesn't advance in the playoffs, you just point to him, because who else are you going to point to? I mean, Joey Votto, these teams didn't advance in the playoffs every year. You went through some of the other names that aren't as widely loved in the city, but it feels like you get the brunt of the blame when you're the best player and you're the only player that's supposed to be the catalyst for that team. Yep. And in Votto's case, he's not hitting the home runs as these other superstars in the league, though he is a superstar in his own right. It just didn't seem the same, and I think maybe that's where a little bit of the frustration came in from. But it is weird. I think
it was an older population.
Yeah,
and I guess I'll understand where the older population came from when it came to hating Joey Votto, because they grew up, and I hate to tell you this franchise has peaked. This franchise will never they'll win championships. They'll never get to the level of the Big Red Machine. I mean, they had 6 Hall of Famers in one lineup. You're not, and I know that not all 6 of them were in the Hall of Fame, but 6 borderline Hall of Famers or Hall of Famers in one lineup, you'll never get that again. And I think that they keep drawing on that, and when they don't see a Joey Votto be a Tony Perez, that rubs them the wrong way.
Griffey is a little easier to explain. I think it's just money. Yeah. He wasn't the player we tried to.
He also was a prima donna.
Right, but that's what I mean. But you can deal with that if he's junior.
But also,
if he's the version we thought we were getting.
He was past his prime when he was with us. I don't think any of this is genuine hate. It's just some distaste at the moment, just because Reds fans want a punching bag.
I'm probably characterizing it wrong when I say hate.
Because
people hated Dusty at the end.
I don't think anybody hates these players. I don't think anybody hates all these Hall of Famers. But it is like, it's not the hate in the same way that you hate the Brewers. It's not hate in the same way that Reds fans hate Anthony Rizzo and Javi Baez and Yadier Molina. It's not that hate. It's different than that. But it is an alarmingly large piece of the pie that is vocal against these players, that is vocal against these Hall of Famers.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think it's definitely distaste, and we all just, as a fan base, just want punching bags. And, the longer you go on without any contending winning teams, we just get more distasteful about significant people. And, we want to point fingers at somebody. So I guess there you go. That's who you're going to point fingers at.
Big names and managers are easy
people who have some authority or some significance within the team.
Yeah, I just started thinking about how players, and it is frustration. Someone put it in there, Mark Fetters put it in there. It's called frustration, right on the head of the nail. It's frustration. That's all it is. This team hasn't won in 30 years in a playoff series. They've been to the playoffs 4 times. One in a COVID year, one was a wild card, 1 game. They've won the division twice. Other than the times that they've won the division twice, they have not finished better than 3rd place in this league, in this division, which a lot of people would argue is maybe the worst division in the sport. I'd argue the American League Central is worse, but a lot of people would argue that this is the worst division in sport. I don't know. I just think about all the players that have come and gone. People love Brandon Phillips. People love Todd Frazier. There's there is not a majority, but a vocal presence that did not like Joey Votto. There was some people that were vocal against Johnny Cueto. I even think to those mid-2000s teams. And the 2 marquee players on those rosters were Ken Griffey Jr. and Adam Dunn. And don't even dare lie to me saying that most people loved Adam Dunn. Because that'd be a bold-faced lie if you told me that most people loved Adam Dunn.
Was Adam Dunn a Hall of Famer?
No, I'm just saying like good players.
Yeah.
Good players, marquee of the team, face of the team. And there's stories about Ken Griffey Jr. and Adam Dunn having to have their lounging chairs removed from the locker room. This is supposed to be a baseball town. And it seems like the players that wear on their shoulders this franchise more often than not aren't beloved. And that's just where that take came from. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk some more sports here on 1410 Wing AM.
One.
Welcome back to Off the Bench. Jacob Tissett, Pearl Zabel, or as we dubbed her, PZ, and Remax. We'll just call everyone by their initials. JT, PZ, and RM here in the room. I guess my initials are actually in him, although I don't really ever go by Nicholas. It's always funny when someone calls me Nicholas. Every once in a while I'll get a DM and be like, hey, Nick. I'm like, who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? That ain't my name. But we've talked a lot of baseball today. I've long stood by, I guess, and maybe I've just gotten shoehorned into this corner, but I've stood by Rob Manfred a while. And I think part of the reason is, or the great majority of the reason is I think he's doing good work as the commissioner of baseball. He took over a dying sport, and for whatever reason, it appears that the sport is growing. Jacob, you have this tweet about MLB viewership this season, and across the board, Fox, ESPN, TBS, MLB Showcase, MLB TV, viewership is increasing in the sport. And I got to ask the simple question to you guys, and we're just going to be spitballing here, but why do you think that is? Do you think that the sport is growing, and what is the catalyst of why this sport is growing in popularity?
I think it's kind of funny that the numbers show that it is growing, because I feel like the number one conversation around baseball is
baseball's
that it's
dying.
Not.
It's a dead sport.
Exactly, and it seems now that this is about 2 or 3 years in a row with some significant improvement in viewership, and I know we talked a lot about it when it comes to getting people to go to the stadium, but I wonder if the shorter game times are one of the biggest swings in this as well. I mean, if you're turning on a baseball game on the TV and you're sitting down and you're blocking off 3 hours, 3.5 hours, a lot of people don't want to do that. But now that it's a 2-hour, 20-minute game, 2-hour game, something like that, I wonder if people that are more of the casual fan are more willing to, block off a set of time and watch that. I don't know how much easier it's become to watch. Obviously, it's still MLB TV if you're outside of any of the regions of anyone else, but outside of that, it seems like it's the same as it ever was in that sense. So I don't know if that would affect it at all. But across all networks, seems like maybe social media and things along those lines are helping too, because those are the national games. Those aren't your local teams that we're talking about there. So I think maybe, baseball, as we talked about for a long time with Manfred, was unable to market those stars. And now it seems like a lot of people are more interested in watching those national games. So there's a lot of things that go into it. But it's certainly good to see for a sport that was talked about as dying for a long time.
It is. Fox does a really nice job, and they haven't got to any of them this year. But Fox does a really nice job in creating buzz around like a specific game that they're going to broadcast. Obviously, when they do them at the location games, the Little League World Series game, when they did the Field of Dreams, they're going to go down to Bristol this year. Fox does a really good job at that. But baseball as a whole, I know that some people always ask, well, why do we need a pitch clock? If you like baseball, you like baseball. I think that we will look back at the pitch clock as one of the greatest innovations to this sport that we've ever seen. Game times have gone down nearly 40 minutes. And it's not like it doesn't have a negative to it.
It stinks when you go to games in person.
For diehard fans, maybe, because you like just lounging and hanging out and spending more time there. No doubt about it. But I can tell you right now, for someone that drags his wife down to the game,
very fair.
She loves it.
Very fair.
And she noticed it the first game we went to. It was like a 3-2 low-scoring game. It was a competitive game, but she was like, this seems like an awesome game. And I was like, it's just because there's constant action. It's constantly moving. And it doesn't, you don't even notice the negativity of it. You don't even notice that it feels like they're rushing. It feels like they're rushing because it feels like this is just the way the game should have always been played. On top of that, the funniest when they made all these rule changes, the funniest rule that they implemented when it came in was the bigger bases. We said, what the heck is this for? What are we trying to accomplish with the bigger bases? The bigger bases and the rule where you can only throw over so many times, pick off, the 3-batter rule, all these rules that have quickened the game, added more base running, which is adding more action, have been undeniable successes. And is baseball getting a big push because the 2 biggest names in the sport happen to be playing for the 2 biggest teams in the sport? Undoubtedly, yes. If Aaron Judge played for the Minnesota Twins, if Shohei Ohtani was still with the Los Angeles Angels, are we still driving it? Is Fox still having major ratings? Probably not. To at least to the extent that they're having. The Cubs being good is good for ball. The Red Sox kind of meander where they're at. Obviously, these big market teams being good is good. But I guess want to give some kudos to the powers that be for taking a game that is slow to change, implementing these rules, and having people forget that these rules almost were implemented. They just are a part of the game now. The universal DH, which was fought for 4 decades since it was implemented in the American League in, I think, 1976, maybe 1972. The National League fought tooth and nail for that one. And now we don't have to see even the best hitters. Everyone likes to bring up Madison Bumgarner. Man, I miss when Madison Bumgarner used to hit. He batted like 140 and had an on-base percentage of like 190. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. There's no longer automatic outs. They've implemented these rule changes. They've expanded the playoffs, which has created more exciting baseball. And it's good for the sport. And I'm excited to see where it goes from next. Because those same people that push back against every change says, it worked, we don't have to change anymore. And just a reminder that progress, more often than not, is good. There will be some duds along the way. Some of you guys hate the Manfred runner. I love the Manfred runner. Pearl, do you like the ghost runner and the extra inning?
Oh, I don't.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's fun. I think it adds. It's funny when it comes to the Manfred runner. When people used to talk about why they liked pitchers in the lineup, they would go, "Oh, I like the strategy. I liked having the strategy." I don't think there's anything that adds more strategy and then what the heck you do with a ghost runner on second base to start an inning. I mean, there's a billion ways you can go about that, especially if you're the visiting team. Kudos to Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball for continuing to grow, and I think it's only going to go up from here. I think the sport is going to continue to grow in popularity. We've got a wonderful crop of young talent. The old guys are aging out. The Justin Verlanders, the Clayton Kershaws, those guys are aging out. Albert Pujols retired a couple years ago, and we've got a crop of exciting young players in the league. The Ellie De La Cruzes, the Bobby Witts, the Pete Crow Armstrongs. All these young players are going to drive this sport going forward, and Aaron Judge and Shohei will be the pillars on which the game continues to grow. But that does it for us here on the radio side of Off the Bench. We are good on time, though, right?
Yep.
So thank you guys for being here with us today. The Reds will get back in action tomorrow. They got an off day, and then they host the Arizona Diamondbacks. Justin Kinner will be back in tomorrow, but Remouse filling in for Justin Kinner. Jacob Tissett, Pearl Zabel, we thank you for listening to Off the Bench. We'll continue talking sports here on the YouTube side. Just search Chatterbox Sports. We'll see you tomorrow. So you see on the J bar it says Reeds 5. Didn't get to that today, but we'll probably have one in the future. Also, another thing that I think would be a lot of fun on the show here. I see a lot of people are doing quarter century teams.
Oh,
25 years in. I think it'd be fun to do a Reds quarter century team, a Bengals quarter century team. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think Chatterbox Bearcats did a quarter century team for the Bearcats basketball team. So that'd be a lot of fun. Who would make the Bengals? Who would make the Reds? That'd be interesting.
biggest question about the Bengals is McPherson still the kicker? If I would have asked you before last year, you probably would have said yes.
Who would it be? Would it be
Shane?
Would it be Shane over Nuggets, Mikey Nuggets?
I think.
Would T? How many wide receivers can we take?
3.
TJ or T?
I think it's TJ.
I think it's T.
Games played.
It'd be Jamar. It would be Jamar and Chad, no
Easily.
doubt. Absolutely. Then it'd be T.
Running back would be Joe.
It would be Joe Mixon.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't really think you. I don't.
Corey
think,
Dillon was mostly 90s.
it was mostly 90s. I think he played 3 years.
Yeah, something like that.
But his
2.
best year was 01. Rudy Johnson just didn't play long enough.
Colin Will. Thank God.
What'd he say?
AJ Green?
Ooh. Yeah. We've read
Yikes!
Yeah. That's a good point. AJ.
Yikes!
Be Jamar, Chad, and AJ. You're right. And then, yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be a fun thing.
That would be a
to
fun
do.
segment.
That'd be a fun thing. Joe.
O-line is Trey Hopkins, Jonah Williams, Hakeem Adeniji,
It'd be Michael
Riley
Jordan,
Reif,
Bobby Hart.
Michael Jordan, Bobby Hart. Yeah.
Bobby Hart.
We can go 10 deep.
Yeah. What an offensive line. What an offensive line we got here. Man, hopefully the Cincinnati Bengals figure that out. But as we always end the show, let's go ahead and do headlines.
Score updates, breaking news, local and national headlines, whatever's going on in the world of sports, Elliot has you covered. Off the Bench brings you Elliot's headlines.
Yeah. So I don't have a full list of headlines, but there were a couple major stories in sports, and I just wanted to gauge the pulse of the room as we're here on YouTube for the final 15 minutes. Yesterday, the New York Knicks fired their head coach, Tibbs, after having the best season in the franchise this century, this millennia. Last 25 years, the Knicks had their best year, and they fired their head coach. You're our local NBA insider, Jacob Tissett. Thoughts?
Seems funny to make the finals for the first time, Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years and fire your coach. Made it to the second round last year, lost to the Pacers in 7 games, fired your coach. Only 2 50-win seasons since 2000, fired your coach. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but round of applause for Tyrese Halliburton. That is now the 3rd coach this season who got fired after losing to Tyrese Halliburton.
You always rope it back to the Pacers. No one cares. You always rope. Is this what it's like when I rope everything back to the Cubs?
Pretty much.
Is this what it's like when I make a take and just bring it back to the Cubs?
Pretty much. I did see a lot of people, Kendrick Perkins most notably, threw out Michael Malone, the Nuggets coach, ex-champion, as the name to replace Tibbs in New York. That makes the least sense to me. I know you think about them as a contender. You go get a coach that just won. Why wouldn't you just keep Tibbs at that point? If you're going to go for an old, standard big down on the block offense, they're going to go get a young guy, which seems just as dumb.
Which it's weird because I saw a tweet that it looked like the Knicks were out partying.
Yeah.
After Tibbs got. Jalen Brunson loved Tibbs.
Love Tibbs. Why did Jalen Brunson love Tibbs? Because now that Tibbs gone, Rick Brunson's going to get fired. So I don't think Jalen Brunson loved playing for Tibbs as much as he loved having his dad as the second coach on the bench.
Okay. Fair enough. I just thought it was interesting
but yes,
that your franchise player wanted to keep your coach, and you're going to go against your franchise player in the year after you have the best season in franchise in the last 25 years. I mean, you beat they. Not only did they have the best season
beat the defending
in the last
champs.
25, you beat the defending champs, who, oh, by the way, are your biggest rival.
Hey, Knicks Pacers.
You think because of the 90s? Okay, fair enough.
Well, and
Fair
2000s.
enough. I just think the New York-Boston thing runs a little deeper.
For sure.
Runs a little
No
deeper
question.
than that.
Second time in 5 years, Karl Anthony Towns got Tom Thibodeau fired.
Good for Cat.
Yeah.
Good for Cat. Out for
SEC.
blood. Yikes. And on the ice, the Edmonton Oilers.
That's right.
Came back down 3-1 to win an OT. I'll tell you what, there was a guy on this show that said he's not very scared of Connor McDavid, and neither should you be. Should the Florida Panthers be scared of Connor McDavid?
Honestly, maybe not. Because if Leon Draisaitl's going to play this well, Connor McDavid can kind of just chill. It's going to be weird if the Oilers finally do win that cup that we've been saying McDavid can't win the big one for so long, and he doesn't win MVP. What happens in that situation? I think that makes a very weird conversation. He won the MVP last year when they lost, so he would still have a 1-to-1 MVP to cup ratio. That would be pretty funny. Definitely a trivia question somewhere down the line. But Draisaitl's been incredible. This is what they had envisioned when they kept the two of them together on those max contracts. So I think after the last 2 years, taking the Panthers to 7 last year and then what we saw last night and so far this run, you just kind of scratch your head and think, how did it take them until last year to get to the Stanley Cup? I mean, these guys are incredible. I love McDavid. I'm certainly rooting for the Oilers, but the Panthers are going to have to pick it up a little bit.
Shout out to me and Jacob's geography skills. Last week when we were talking about Edmonton, we Googled where Edmonton was. We knew it was kind of out west. We didn't realize how far north it was. So we saw how far north it was, and our souls were like, all right, how cold is it up there in Edmonton? It was 20 degrees warmer than it was here in Hamilton. So I was just like, yeah,
that stunk.
Yeah, that was not a fun. That was not a fun.
I hate being so wrong. And now I'm not Pearl, can you hold that up right in front of you?
What?
A plaque?
This?
Just go ahead and what is that?
That is a Geography B trophy for St. Peter and Jane School here in Hamilton, where I came in first place.
That's our Geography B champ over there, Reed Mouse. He
Didn't even know
also
what this
thought
was.
Edmonton was further south.
Geography B? I've never even known that was a thing.
Yeah.
They give you cities and you just spell them.
It was, we didn't do the spelling bee at St. Pete's. We did the Geography bee. I came in second place in 6th grade. I went into OT. Eric McGill got me. And then in 8th grade year, I won it. And I made Eric McGill's little brother, Ryan McGill, cry.
Oh.
So
That's what we
I got
call
my
payback.
revenge.
Yeah.
I got my revenge On that one, I still remember the final question. So remember, I'm not going to read it out to you. But I still remember the final
Geography
question.
B.
It was a crowning moment for old Rita Roo to win the geography back in 2010 at St. Peter and Chain. You guys, college softball fans, you guys ever watch the College World Series in softball? Softball is a new love for Reed. Ever since we started doing Miami games, it's a lot of fun to watch softball. If you're a baseball fan, softball is like baseball, except for it's just the fun parts. it's just the only thing that softball doesn't do is they don't turn double plays, really. They don't have web gems because the field's so small. But you just get home runs and strikeouts and line drive. It's the best parts of baseball just condensed. And it's a lot of fun. Last night, Texas beat Texas Tech 2-1. 2 runs in the bottom of the sixth inning and to close that one out. So that's been fun. The Oklahoma Sooners will not 5-peat. I believe that they were on a 4-peat. They will not 5-peat.
First time not in the final since 2019.
Wild.
6 years.
Wild. Still, the biggest stream, the biggest audience we've ever had for a stream was Oklahoma Sooners game. Go look at our YouTube right now, and you can filter it to most viewed, and we had like 80,000 people watching that game, Oklahoma, when they came to Oxford a couple weeks ago. And then also, Elliott's sweet Rockies. They sweep the Miami Marlins.
They did.
On the road?
That's right.
They're
Tough
on the
place to
come up.
play in Colorado. So luckily they got that win on the road before they went home and had to get some more losses. Elliott did give them their flowers yesterday for breaking that series losing streak. So I was glad he was able to be in here and do that for his beloved Rockies. Kyle Farmer, Nick Martini, right in the heart of that order. So we all have a little bit of a connection to Colorado.
It is. We've kept tabs on a lot of takes here. But it is funny that we gravitate towards the ones that have aged the worst.
Yeah.
And that one, I think it was because it was when we were on our trip to the Memorial last year. I remember sitting in that house and we were talking about the Reds were playing out in Colorado, and Elliott said something about how he didn't want to play out there because it's a tough place to play, and we all got on him.
When we had him officially spell it out, it was if the Reds played their schedule or 162 in Colorado against the Rockies, it would be harder to play the Rockies 162 times in Colorado than it would be to play a normal schedule.
What would this Reds team's record be against this year's Colorado Rockies, all 162 games in Colorado?
Triple-digit wins.
You think you're getting 100?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm on board.
I think they're
Yeah.
winning 100 games.
No, for sure.
Relatively easily.
Okay.
I think they're like 112.
Ooh. I don't think they'd come close to the record. The record's, 116?
Where could you put the Rockies for 162 where they could win the record? If they played offense in Mexico City, the other team played offense somewhere else.
So, they're playing 2 different games?
Yeah. Like, they send a pitcher down, and the Rockies...
they just do it all in the same day. You get your 9 turns.
You get your 27 outs.
You get your 27 outs. We'll just reshift them every 7.
Yeah.
Well, if it's a starting pitcher, we'll give them like a 5-minute break in between the innings, and we'll just have a local mariachi band down there just playing in between the half innings, and then we'll just go back out there and we'll go play.
I love it.
We'll go play.
I love it.
And then we'll just ship them back.
Up.
Ship them up, and we'll play the other 27 outs. And whoever scores more runs is better off.
Give the Rocks a chance.
Yeah, I
think that's a good idea.
I think you'd also not be playing a Major League Baseball team.
No.
You'd have to be playing
the Party Animals?
I was going to say, realistically, it's a double-A team if they play like a double-A team. Nah, actually, double-A's got better
Joe's?
talent. Hamilton Joe's?
How many games for the Joes on Joe's Field to beat the Rockies?
162. 162
They're getting one?
At Foundation Field.
They're getting one.
I think they could sneak one.
Are they getting...
Are they getting like 5?
Like 5?
162. I don't think the Rockies are going 150. I mean, it's baseball.
Right, that's what I'm
It's
saying.
baseball. These are college athletes that are throwing low 90s.
Home field advantage.
Home field advantage.
That's a tough place to play.
Foundation Field is a big field, relatively for amateur sports. It's like 390 to center field, like 335 down the lines. It is smaller. That's what Great American Ballpark is. And Great American Ballpark is the smallest field in the sport. So it is funny. I don't know. I don't know how many they'd win. I think they can get double digits. I think they can win at least 10 games against the Rockies in 162.
Okay.
I do always think it's funny when we do that conversation when there's a terrible NFL team and an amazing college football team. We go, they would play better than them. It's like, no, they wouldn't.
Correct.
They wouldn't. They never would.
It's never one time been a 2-score game.
Yeah.
Like, the NFL team would skull drag every college team ever. It's not even close.
Right.
0-17 Browns versus the 15-0
Alabama
Clemson that year.
Tide, yeah.
Alabama that year. It wouldn't even be close. There's not a debate in sports that makes me more upset than that one.
What if they had like prime Cam Newton for like that 2016?
Like, if you put NFL Cam Newton on the Auburn team?
I'm saying no. He's Heisman year Cam Newton.
Oh.
But like it's a versatile athlete that is pretty transcendent. Because like if it's a drop back passer, I don't think they've got a player.
I don't think you'd have to put the NFL version.
Okay.
Because you got to think, like, when Cam Newton was a dominant, it was 2015 when he won the MVP. That's 3 years in the NFL.
Sure.
So, I mean, I think the team that has the best chance is, like, I mean, I know I might be a little biased, but like 2019 LSU or 2020 Alabama, because of the immediate impact of those stars. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, I have a hard time imagining that just 1 year removed, they aren't going to be able to play well against NFL DBs. Alabama, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Najee Harris. Like, I feel like you got to have immediate impact offensive weapons, and then you just kind of prey on defense. I don't know what the plan is there.
It wouldn't be good.
No.
It wouldn't be good. Could like that Kentucky Wildcats team that
With AD and all that?
Yeah, they only lost one game. They didn't win the championship, but they only lost one game. But they were all NBA players. Could they compete in the NBA? Like, could they win like 15 games in the NBA?
Maybe.
20 games? Because they're NBA players.
So, right. And they go right away. Some of those guys are older than, like, college basketball teams sometimes are older. So, yeah, I think so. I think that's a much more realistic conversation. Still a struggle. And I would say there's that team and maybe one or two more ever that have an argument there. But because you need, 5 or 6 NBA guys in order to have a chance? I mean, Devin Booker was coming off the bench for that team. So, maybe. But, yeah, you have to give the nod to the group of all professionals. Just play the numbers.
Football is the one sport in which leans itself to upsets don't happen. Baseball is the opposite. Like, the worst baseball team in the league can play the Dodgers, and they'll be plus 400 on the money or plus 275 on the money line. That's a 5-point spread in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, that's just where you're at right there. I mean, every year these major league teams, they a lot of times will go and play local colleges in spring training. I remember the University of Tampa, which is a really, really good Division II. Like, they're constantly in the College World Series. They played, I think, the Rays in an exhibition like every year, and like Tampa wins it like a third of the time, which is just crazy. A D2 team could be, and then clearly it's not the full major league team, but baseball's cool, which is why I always say, like, it has a way of governing itself, and until it's becomes a problem, which it hasn't been yet, this whole salary cap thing, it will continue to just let them do whatever they want, because no sport has had more champions in the last 25 years. No sport has had more champions in the last, I think basketball actually has one more champion in the last 10 years, just because they've had a different one for the last 7. Yeah. And they'll likely get a different, they are getting a different one this
is
year.
The 7th.
Okay. So they'll get a different one this year. So we'll see. But that does it from us here at Off the Bench. Any parting words? Pearl? No? Putting you on the spot.
I got nothing.
Give our people some parting words.
I want.
Birds are tough.
Birds are tough is a good one.
Birds are tough.
I didn't have a birds are tough comment today.
No,
but I might have
that's
had
true.
one worse.
No.
Jacob, any parting words?
No, I got nothing. I do think we might be the only show ever to do mascot heights and do the Rockies win a game if they play offense only in Mexico City in the same show.
For having no bones of this show, we talked baseball for 2 hours.
2 hours.
We talked and went in Reds for like an hour.
We're good Reds takes in there.
A $1.45. So,
Reed, I have to say I like it when you're on the show. Thanks. I don't know, it's like wild, but it's fun.
What's Mouse Cop always say? It's off the rails.
Yes.
But good.
Off the bit. Off the rails.
If you want good takes, we could start talking about the new kick changeup. I don't know if you guys have seen that, the new pitch.
I'm woke on new pitches.
You're woke on new pitches? This is actually thrown a new way, though.
No.
Like
boom, that's it.
Like, he was actually asking me this. Jacob was asking me about this, the break. So I guess we'll go an extra 5 minutes.
Yeah.
He was asking me when we were out of town last week. He was like, what do you think about the new pitches in baseball, like the sweeper as opposed to the slider? I was like, I don't have a take on it because they're not throwing it differently. They're just categorizing it differently. And they've done this for a while. Like it's nothing new between the slider and the sweeper. Like they're throwing it the same way, just some people it goes more horizontal. We've done this with curveballs for 30 years. We've talked about having a curveball, and we talked about having a 12-6 curveball. They're not thrown any differently. That's just the way that you can throw it. I mean, you might spike it like a knuckle curve or something like that, and it gets that downward movement. But it's just a way to categorize, oh, he's got a 12-6 curveball. Oh, instead of he has a slider, no, he has a sweeper. It's thrown the same way. You're grabbing the seams and you're spinning it, right? From this arm slot. You're getting on the side of the ball. Curveball, you get on top of the ball. It's all that differently. The kick changeup, I don't know if you guys have seen this. I think Nick Lodolo might throw one. I think that's his new changeup.
I don't know.
He has his new changeup. So typically with a circle changeup, you pronate it. You finish it like this. And some dudes' arms aren't capable of going like this and getting that down, arm side movement on this. So what they're doing now is they're kind of spiking it and they're throwing the changeup. And what it's creating is your fingers are the last thing that touch the ball, your spiked fingers. And it's creating that movement to where it almost looks like a circle changeup, but it's just a different way that people that can't pronate properly to throw the circle changeup can get that arm side run on a changeup, and it's a kick changeup. I think this is what has led to Clay Holmes having a lot of success this year. I think don't hold me on Nick Lodolo, but I would assume that if he's not throwing a changeup to great success in years past, and all of a sudden he's throwing a changeup that's getting some swings and misses, that he's now throwing a kick changeup.
He has more strikeouts this year off the changeup than he does in his career up to this point. Off strictly the changeup.
Yeah,
it has to be something different.
Right. It's we always do the bit on spring training. He's in the best shape of his life. That's the bit when it comes to position players. Like, oh, he's in the best shape of his life. We do that with pitchers too. It's called he's working on a changeup this year. They do that with every pitcher. He's working on a changeup this year.
We got our first best shape of their life, at least to my knowledge, of the NFL season, and it was followed up by Vic Fangio saying, I don't know why it took this long. Talking about Jordan Davis, said he finally got to team weight to play interior D tackle. He said it's the best shape of his career, but he doesn't know why it took Davis this long to get down to that weight. So a nice round of applause and then a little jab there by Vic Fangio. But yeah, the Eagles defense should just be just fine. And then C.J. Stroud. There's some worries about C.J. Stroud. His shoulder, he's not throwing in OTAs. He might have had a secret surgery that no one knows about. Nico Ryans won't commit to whether or not he'll play week 1. So a lot of questions to be asked there.
We did have one super chat that we were going to leave that I'm glad we got to this now. It was GC3 put a $2 super chat in, says, no love for my Rangers World Series win, mostly homegrown. I'm pulling up the 2023 Rangers right now. Their best player was Marcus Semien. He had a 7.7 WAR that year. He was signed that offseason. Their second best player was Corey Seager, who had a 7.2 WAR that year. He was signed that year. Their designated hitter was Mitch Garver, who he was signed that year. Their Nathaniel Lowe, I think he was a hometown guy, right? Jonah Heim. They had Travis Janikowski.
That's a Red.
He was not homegrown. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like that team was mostly brought in players. They did have Adolis Garcia. So it feels like that team wasn't homegrown. I don't know. I feel like that was a bad example.
We'll still give respect to the
We will still give
Rangers.
respect to the Rangers.
They did win it.
Shout out to the Texas Rangers for winning the 2023 World Series. First and only World Series in their franchise's history.
Are we the first people to congratulate them this year?
Gotta be.
Probably.
Gotta be. Hey, maybe the Brewers will win a World Series sometime in their franchise history. Hopefully not. Probably not. We'll see you guys tomorrow.